Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Learn at Home Facebook Live. For the discussion today, the topic will be on examining determinants, the student's reading ability. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to all our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, ka-Vibal! And now, to proceed with our webinar this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. Carlos A. Buraga graduated cum laude from Isabela State University, Cabagan Campus with a degree Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. He finished his master's degree in education at University of Makati. In 2018, he pursued his Doctor of Philosophy in English Language Teaching at Metropolitan College. He also finished Doctor of Education in Innovative Educational Management at University of Makati in 2021. He has been teaching for 10 years in Makati High School as an English teacher. He is also currently assigned as the language coordinator for the senior high school department in the same school. He believes that our dreams do come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Dr. Carlos A. Buraga.
Thank you for the very generous introduction, Ms. Jillian. Good evening, Kavibal. Good evening, teachers, parents, and to all our viewers who are watching right now via Vibal's Facebook page. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat and welcome to Learn at Home session. Again, I am Dr. Carlos Buraga, a faculty member of Makati High School. And thank you, Vibal, for this opportunity to be able to share something to our audience this evening. And since November is the celebration of the National Reading Month, this evening I will be presenting the different determinants or variables to students' reading ability. So this is the outline of the presentation this evening. I will start with defining what reading is, after which I will be presenting the different determinants or variables to students' reading ability. And I will also share some of the reading strategies that both teachers and parents could utilize in the development of their students' or children's reading ability. The fourth industrial revolution is changing how we live. It's changing how we work and communicate. New technologies and innovations are but some of the characteristics of fourth industrial revolution. And the Philippines, being a developing country, has to cope with a lot of challenges in response to the demands of this century, especially on the delivery of the curriculum and instruction to be able to develop the appropriate learning competencies among our learners. And these are the 21st century skills that our students must acquire, which comprise of learning skills, literacy skills, and life skills. And according to UNESCO, UNESCO stressed the idea that literacy is the ability to read and write and is one of the main concerns of basic education. You know, reading is a basic skill that must be developed among students in as early as grade 3. The students are expected, that as they get promoted to a higher level, they should gradually master the different aspects of reading most especially in terms of reading comprehension. However, based on experience and observation, there are a lot of students who get promoted to grade 7 who are unable to read with comprehension. And despite all of the reading programs that Department of Education implement that aim to improve students' reading comprehension, still students have difficulty in reading comprehension. And with the anticipated pandemic that has shocked the world, it has opened various challenges and opportunities to educators, to students, and parents as well. Thus, this Education 4.0 is a response to the need for the Industrial Revolution 4.0, where humans and technology are converging to create new opportunities creatively and innovatively. Especially that, considering the present educational setup, where students study at home. And it is very alarming to know the results of the program for international student assessment of Filipino students in 2018, wherein the Philippines joined for the first time and was part of the Quality Basic Education Reform Plan and a step towards globalizing the quality of education. Philippines ranked the lowest, and the results revealed that the overall reading literacy proficiency level of Filipino students is level 1A, which means that Filipino students can just understand the literal meaning of short sentences or short passages, but when they are asked to answer more complex questions, that's when they actually fail to. And by participating in PISA, the country will be able to establish the baseline in relation to global standards and benchmark the effectiveness of the reforms. The Department of Education recognizes the PISA results along with its own assessments and studies, and this will provide a better perspective in aid of policy formation or formulation, planning, and programming. But I want to focus my presentation in examining determinants to students' reading ability. First is the exposure to English in school, which aims to determine the students' use of the English language in their interaction in school. Second is their exposure to English at home and the academic performance. These variables or determinants are very important factors to consider as part of examining the students' reading ability. Every opening of the school year, we conduct reading comprehension tests for reading comprehension assessment with the use of the Philippine Informal Reading Inventory or the PhilErie test for grade 7 to identify the student's level of reading comprehension, such as the independent level, which is the highest level. The next one is the instructional level, and the lowest level is the frustration level, wherein these students under frustration level are the ones who are unable to read and comprehend, and they are being subjected to reading remediation program or reading intervention programs. And it is very important to identify the reading level of the students because through this, it will help the teachers to plan. It will help the teachers to create and innovate instructional and strategies to help, most especially those students belonging in the frustration level. I have conducted three researches in the past focusing on the reading ability of the students. And as a researcher and a reading teacher, it is essential to identify the profile of the students in terms of their exposure to English in school and at home. And in one of my researches that I conducted in 2019, I made use of this instrument where the students were asked to answer the following questions. The first question is, do you speak English in school? Do students interact using the English language? Are they well exposed to using the language in school? Are these students given enough opportunities to express themselves using the language? Right? The second one is, do your teachers assist or guide you when reading? You know what? It's very important that we teachers guide the students when we assign them to read something, especially those students belonging in the frustration level. Let us give them our assistance for them to really enjoy and understand what they are asked to read. Third question is, do you ask your teachers to give the meaning of words you find difficult? Students under instructional and independent level may not have problem at all in terms of understanding the meanings of words in a story, for example. However, under a frustration level, they may experience difficulties in understanding the meaning of difficult words. That is why we need to really supervise and monitor these students, because if they do not understand a word or two in a story, for example, that greatly affects their understanding. And as a reading teacher, what I do is that I pre assign activities, for example, in vocabulary building, and I encourage my students to ask questions whenever they encounter words that they find difficult or they are unfamiliar with. Fourth question is, do your teachers encourage the reading stories and articles in school? Uh, you know, for students to develop their reading skills, we teachers should encourage them to read. That is why there should be readily available materials in school for them to read, something that is interesting. Right? Some of the reading materials displayed or posted may not be, for example, may not be appropriate for the reading level of the students. That is why if we want our students to be really interested or to be really motivated to read, for example, read stories or articles, we should provide them interesting materials. Yeah, and while it is true that there is no one size fits all learning materials, providing students with differentiated tasks that suit their needs is still the most appropriate and effective strategy when teaching reading. Fifth is, do you always understand the story or reading text when you read? Again, those frustration level readers are the ones who are really challenged here, because if you give them the simplest, even the simplest reading material, they could hardly understand. And that is a challenge on our part as teachers to help these students improve and develop their reading ability. And you could easily identify those who really have problems in reading comprehension when you ask them comprehension questions, even the simplest questions like what and who, frustration level students could not or could hardly um, give answers. That is why it is very important to identify the reading level of the students so that we could give the best possible intervention or remediation in reading. Sixth question. Do you skip the unfamiliar words when reading? Um, Students under frustration level lack the ability to comprehend the meaning of the text being read due to difficulty in word recognition. And in my research, when teachers were asked about this, the teachers confirmed that indeed students have encountered frustration due to inability to express fluently with not a very large number of word recognition. And in addition, students would have difficult time reading text due to the following reasons. First is they have limited vocabulary, unfamiliarity of words, and unfamiliarity to the idiomatic expressions. As teachers, this need is addressed by building vocabulary skills, instructing them on cognitive strategies they can use, such as the use of KW chart and the use of reading graphic organizers, which are known to be effective thinking strategies that directly teach comprehension skills. Do you use dictionary when you cannot understand the meaning of unfamiliar words? I always tell my students to always have their dictionaries with them, even during face-to-face class, and even in our present setup, I always tell them that they should have their dictionary with them so that when they encounter words or new words that they do not understand, they will just have to look at the meaning of those words in the dictionary. And most of the students are visual learners. They would rely on the aesthetic aspect of the reading text before they read it. And also, it is notable that those students who belong in the frustration level do not look for the definition of unfamiliar words that they encounter, and they can easily be distracted by other matters, such as, for example, playing online games, which greatly affect their performance both in their reading ability and academics. Eighth question. Do you share or discuss the text you have read with your teachers? After reading or after giving reading tasks to my students, I usually ask them to share what they understood in the text they have read to check whether they were able to comprehend the meaning of the text read. Ninth question. Do you read aloud when asked to in class? And do you feel motivated to read in school? Particularly those frustration level readers would be more motivated if the reading activity is relevant to their experiences. In terms of independent level and instructional level, they exhibit interest and are motivated to read. There are no problems to those students belonging in the instructional and independent level. But as regards those under frustration level in terms of exposure to English in school, the students, based on the research that I conducted, the students revealed that they skip the unfamiliar words when when reading. because teachers may not have required the class to look up the meaning of unfamiliar words in a dictionary as an assignment. And sometimes students do not feel motivated to read in school because there may be a need for the teacher to supervise reading, followed by guide questions for students to answer. For learners, learning to read is a challenge posed to parents and educators. And no matter how busy parents are, they should have time left for their children. You know what? Parents should develop good relationship at their stage of learning, especially that in the present educational setting where students study at home. Parents are the more that parents should be involved. You know, parents are an active part of the teaching and learning process. All right, same set of questions. However, this is in the context of exposure to English at home of the students. So, do you speak English at home? All right. Are these students given opportunities to interact using the English language at home? Second is, do your parents assist, guide you when reading? Do you ask your parents to give the meaning of words you find difficult? Do your parents encourage reading stories and articles at home? See, uh, the role of parents is very important in the development of the skills, in particular their reading skills. The parents should be involved. The parents should have or should develop good relationship um, among their children. Do you always understand the story or reading text when you read? Do you skip the unfamiliar words when reading? Do you use dictionary when you cannot understand the meaning of unfamiliar words? Do you share or discuss a text you have read with your parents? Later on, I'll be sharing some strategies that parents could use in um, developing the reading comprehension skills of their children. And do you feel motivated to read at home? And again, based on the findings of the research that I conducted, in particular to the reading ability of the students when they are asked how well they are exposed to using English language at home, students' responses were that students may not feel motivated to read at home for the following reasons. They have nothing to read that is interesting, which could be found at home. Second one is the physical setup or surrounding of their home is not conducive for reading. And third, the parents do not encourage them to do so. Again, parents' role is very essential in the development of their children's reading skills and the interest of the child in learning to read is first motivated at home. A possible technique would be for them to start uh, the reading activity with mind stimulating activities like word games, crossword puzzles, or short audio video presentations followed by simple comprehension questions and other visual exercises would be of great help since reading is a form of visual exercise. Again, remember the child's interest in learning to read must be motivated in a warm environment at home. One of the fundamental skills to be developed for academic learning success is reading comprehension skills. Therefore, it is also the most significant skill the students must acquire. Um, Academic performance is affected by the students' reading comprehension level. In my study, I used the field area comprehension test to identify the level of reading comprehension, and it served as the basis for revealing the reading categories of my students. And it was found out that the students' reading comprehension level is a valid basis for predicting academic performance of students. So, yung mga estudyante pala na, for example, under instructional and independent level would be by just identifying their reading level, you could predict that these students are the same set of students who would excel, and those students under frustration level would be the same set of students who would have problems in their academics. That is why, as soon as the teachers have identified the reading level of their students, these students under frustration level will be the ones to enroll in the reading intervention or remediation program. Reading comprehension is not just a requirement in learning English subject, but it is a prerequisite in learning all subject areas. If one does not know how to comprehend what he or she reads, then that definitely affects his or her academic performance. That is why uh, the role of teachers and parents are very necessary in building and developing the reading ability of the students, of the children. Parents play an important role in their child's education. You know what? Gone are the days when it was solely the school's job to educate. The parents should also be involved in their child's education. There are several ideas that are intended to help increase your child's understanding of reading skills and to develop confidence in learning. You may also want to check the Learn at Home kit of Evolve. They have a lot of provided useful strategies and techniques that parents could use at home in helping their children develop their reading skills. And I would just like to share some of the reading strategies um, in the students vocabulary development. If you're a parent, you have to expose your child to reading. You model good habits by reading in front of your child. That's very important. If your child sees you to, if you model them how to do how to read and how to properly read, it will motivate your students. And as parent, you provide activities that relate reading to daily life. So the first one is building vocabulary. You know what? Simple ways like having conversations with your child regularly. You talk about the people you see and the types of jobs they have. The parents' involvement in the reading, in the development of the reading skill of their children is very important. So the second one is word study. I have mentioned earlier in my previous slides that you may use word games. All right, as a parent, you may introduce a word or two to your child with its definition every day. Through this, the child's vocabulary will be improved and it will help them grow their vocabulary. And the third one is reading comprehension. Uh, as a parent, you model how to read, and reading a story, or you may want to read a story to or have your child read a story. You monitor your child's reading by asking literal questions about the facts, asking inferential questions about what they think it means, and asking critical questions. Remember that the student's reading ability is affected by the exposure to the English in school and at home, along with parental involvement for better academic performance. The teacher and parent can successfully help a student or a child to read with proper assistance and guidance. The new normal education is very challenging. Yes, it is, but I believe we can still make teaching and learning fun. Let us instill the love of reading among our students, and reading is necessary for learning. So instilling a love of reading at an early age is the key that unlocks the door to lifelong um, learning. By putting a few simple strategies into action, a parent or a teacher can make a significant contribution to their child's or students' reading. And with that, I want to end my presentation with a mantra of my dear school head, Mr. Felix Bunagan, that we can make things possible as long as we will work as one, because as one we can as one. In other words, uh, there should be collaboration between parents and teachers for the development and to maximize the potentials of students or their children. And that ends my presentation. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Learn with Teacher Carlos. And before I end my presentation, I would like to greet all my colleagues in Makati High School, my bosses in SDO Makati, and to my family in Kabagan, Isabela, who are watching right now. Thank you so much, Vibal, and to all our viewers who are tuning in right now. Happy National Reading Month and have a blessed evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
There we have it. In behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank our speaker for today for this very eye-opening and insightful learning session. It is an honor to have you with us today, sir. And to all our Vibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to all our daily learning session. Don't forget to register to get your e-certificate of participation. The link is in the caption of this webinar. We also encourage you to subscribe and watch on our official Vival Facebook and YouTube channel. Muli maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.